It started with a line of cars. Not a couple here and there. I mean, a full-blown line snaking down my private road like someone had opened a theme park behind my house. It was early Saturday, sunlight barely pushing through the pines. And I remember standing on my porch, coffee in hand, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. 12 cars the first morning. By Sunday, more than 20 SUVs, sedans, minivans, you name it. At first, I figured maybe there was a wedding somewhere down the valley or a trail meet. But then I noticed the coolers, the folding chairs, the people walking dogs and unloading bikes. All of it happening right there on my land. That's when it clicked. These folks weren't lost. They thought this was public parking. Now I've owned my ranch in Redwood Hollow, Oregon for over 15 years. 28 acres, fenced, zoned agricultural, private as it gets. Built a barn with my own 2 hands. Poured a concrete for the drive. Hung the private property. No trespassing sin myself. I'm not the kind of guy who hides from the world. But when you live out here, when you actually work your own soil, you expect people to respect your boundaries. So I walked out there still wearing my work gloves and said calmly, "Hey folks, this is private property." A woman unloading her SUV looked up at me like I just told her water was wet. "Oh yeah," she said casually. "The community said this is fine. It's the new overflow lot." I blinked. "The community who?" "The Summit View Homeowners Association." She replied, nodding toward the ridge that separated my ranch from that shiny new subdivision they built last year. "They said this is open for parking until they finish the second entrance." Before I could answer, a man strolled by carrying a picnic chair. "Don't worry, buddy," he said with a grin. "We're just cutting through." The HOA said, "You're cool with it." I wasn't cool with it. Back inside, I put my mug down and pulled up my laptop. Within minutes, I found the HOA's website, and right there on the front page under a banner that read Community Expansion Updates was a post, "New Overflow Parking Zone, Summit View, Residents Only." And the photo underneath, my driveway, my barn, Midam fence. They'd even dropped a Google Maps pin right in the middle of my property. I slammed my desk so hard my dog Jasper barked from the porch. The thing was, I wasn't even a member of tier HOA. My parcel wasn't inside their jurisdiction. My address didn't appear in their bylaws. But that didn't stop them from using my land like it belonged to them. By noon, I drove straight to the HOA office. It was inside one of those community lodges that looked rustic, but smelled like vinyl and lemon polish. Behind the counter sat a young woman chewing gum and scrolling her phone. "I need to speak to whoever's in charge." I said that would be Melissa Pratt, our community director. She said she's in a board meeting. 20 minutes later, Melissa appeared, hair pulled so tight it could snap wire, clipboard tucked under her arm, polite smile so fake it squeaked. "I'm Aron Cole y Tolter. You've got a sign up claiming Miranch is now a community parking lot." Her smile didn't move. Yes," she said sweetly. "We've addressed that already. Since your land has been used by residents for trail access for several years, it qualifies under an implied easement. The board voted last quarter approve weekend parking." I just stared. "You're telling me you voted to take my land?" She flipped a page on her clipboard. "Not take, share. It's about cooperation. The community benefits from your location, and since there's no boundary fence, that constitutes public access by precedent." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You've lost your damn mind," I said, turning to leave. "Mr. Cole," she called after me, "that you're welcome to attend our next board meeting if you'd like to appeal." Appeal? Like I was some criminal asking for parole. Back at the ranch, the cars were still there. One even parked right in front of my barn door. A kid was peeing behind my trailer. I stood there, jaw-locked, watching people treat my pasture like a picnic ground. By Monday morning, I had photos, license plates, and a U.S. drive full of evidence. I took it to the county sheriff's department. Deputy Harris met me outside, scratching his beard, looking half awake. "So, you seeing they're parking here without permission?" "Without permission," I said, "without a lease and without a brain." He gave me that neighborly calm down look. "The HOA says there's a shared use agreement, something temporary while they finish construction. There's no agreement, no signature, no nothing." It snapped. They forged a sign, used Myland, and didn't even tell me. Harris sighed. Well, unless there's damage or a crime. Forgery isn't a crime anymore. I looped away. Could be a civil issue. I'll talk to them. When he left, I knew I'd have to fight this myself. I dug out me old zoning binder from my years working for the city planning department. A relic of the bureaucratic hell I'd once escaped. Every map, every parcel record, every regulation. That night, I spread it across my kitchen table like a battle plan. By the next afternoon, I was back at the HOA office, documents in hand. "Miss Pratt," I said, dropping the stack on her counter. "Here's my deed. No HOA attachment, no easement, no shared agreement. You have 24 hours to remove every car from my property." She flipped through the pages lazily. "We're aware of your position," she said, "but our legal counsel maintains that under Oregon's implied easement doctrine, community use without objection constitutes consent. It's filed. You can appeal." I leaned in close enough to smell her perfume. "You didn't task. You ambushed." Her smile twitched. "Perception matters more than paperwork, Mr. Cole. And perception says this land is community property." That night, I drove to the county recorder's office. The clerk, a nervous kid named Evan, typed my parcel number into his computer. "Huh," he muttered. "Huh, what? There's a supplemental filing here. Right of use agreement WSB 22089 between you and Summit v. HOA. Signed by you apparently." He spun the monitor around. My name, my address, my forged signature. My hands went cold. "That's not mine." Evan swallowed. "You might want to file a fraud report. You're not the first person to ask about Summit View." Driving home, my pulse was pounding. They'd actually forged a legal document that on paper, they owned part of my land. It wasn't dealing with arrogance anymore. This was organized theft. So I did what I do best. I documented. I installed new cameras, recorded every car, every footprint. Then I called Channel 6 News, pitched them the story. Local HOA claims private ranch as community parking lot. Reporter Lydia Marsh came out that week, camera crew and all. While she interviewed me, a family pulled up behind us, unloading bikes. She turned her mic to them. "Do you know this is private land?" The mother smiled. "Melissa said it's fine. This is the overflow lot. Perfect TV." That night, it aired .my ranch, my signs, and my face on the 6:00 news. By morning, my inbox exploded. Dozens of emails from other landowners nearby who'd had similar boundary errors. The HOA had been slowly annexing neighboring lots under the same lie. I decided to dig deeper. I filed a Freedom of Information request for every grant Summit View HOA had received in the last 2 years. A week later, the results dropped like a bomb. And $80,000 state grant for community infrastructure, listing my property as the development site with owner's consent on file. They'd stolen my name, my land, and now my tax dollars. Then things got dark. It started with the animals. My horses, usually calm as saints, began spooking at night, pacing, sweating, eyes rolling like they'd seen ghosts. I checked the fence lines, set up lights, even looked for coyotes. Nothing. One night, I played back the security footage. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the herd scattered in unison. No lights, no intruders, just a faint low hum under audio like a distant generator. I boosted the sound. It was mechanical, rhythmic, unnatural. Next morning, I found it. A small metal box half buried near the fence, humming. An ultrasonic wildlife deterrent, the kind used at airports. Only this one was aimed at my barn. 2 more devices showed up near the pasture, all pointing inward. I bagged them and called Deputy Harris again. He looked them over, confused. "Not illegal," he said, "but if they were being used to disrupt livestock, it called count as harassment." Damn right, it's harassment. He promised to file our report, but I could tell it wouldn't go for. Then came the worst day. That weekend, I hosted a therapeutic riding session for local kids, something I did once a month. One of the horses, a gentle mare named Maple, stumbled mid-ride. The girl on her back, a 14-year-old named Grace, went down hard. I heard the crack before I saw her fall. Broken collarbone. While I checked the ground, my stomach twisted. A chunk off-jagged metal, rusted, sharp debris from one of the HOA's vehicles that had parked there weeks earlier. I pulled the surveillance clip to prove it. The SUV had a Summit View decal on the bumper that Grace's mother was a lawyer. By Monday morning, she'd filed an injury claim, not against me, but directly against the HOA. Channel 6 ran another story. Teen injured on land seized by HOA. The footage showed Grace's mother saying, "They used this man's property like a public park. Now, my daughter's paying for it." The internet erupted, but the HOA didn't back down. The next morning, I found a malnourished foal tied to my gate. Trembling, filthy. A note pinned to its neck. "Take care of your own animals, psycho." I called the vet, called animal control, and stood there staring at that poor creature while anger settled into something colder. Resolve. I named him Ranger. From that point on, it wasn't just personal. It was. I hired Deidre Malone, a lawyer known for chewing through corporate fraud cases like they were breakfast cereal. We filed 3 separate complaints: trespass and encroachment, document forgery, and fraudulent use of public funds. Then out of nowhere, a man showed up at my gate. Middle-aged, nervous, holding a thumb drive. "My name's Charles Benton," he said. "I used to be the HOA treasurer. You don't know him, but I think I can help." He handed meth drive. Melissa forged that agreement herself. She backdated it to match the grant paperwork. I tried to stop her. She threatened to sue me. Inside the drive, emails, meeting minutes, budget drafts, and a Photoshop file showing my forged signature copied from a scan document. Smoking gun, Deidre smiled like he a wolf. Within a week, she'd filed an injunction stopping all HOA activity on me property. Every car, every person, every step prohibited under threat of $10,000 fines per incident. Melissa tried to spin it in the media, claiming I was destabilizing community harmony and hoarding land. Deidre fired back with a lawsuit for defamation, fraud, and property interference, totaling over $500,000 in damages. Then a hammer dropped. The state auditor's office opened a criminal investigation into Summit View's grant usage. The assistant district attorney, Claire Morton, called me personally. Weary looking at felony-level fraud, she said that a week later, Melissa Pratt was arrested at her office, handcuffed in front of the same bulletin board that once displayed her community overflow parking poster. The charges: forgery of public records, misuse of public funds, conspiracy to defraud, and criminal trespass. Her little kingdom was crumbling. Within days, the board resigned. Homeowners turned on each other. The HOA filed for bankruptcy before trial even ended. Deidre and I pushed forward anyway. We wanted a verdict on record. The courtroom smelled like stale air and cheap perfume. Melissa sat 2 rows away, looking pale and polished, flanked by lawyers who already knew they'd lost. Deidre stood without notes. "Your Honor," she began, "this isn't a zoning dispute. This is theft disguised as community planning." The judge listened, expression unreadable, as she laid out every piece of evidence. The forged signature, the rent fraud, the harassment, the injured child, the FO. Then she ended with one simple sentence. They tried to bury Amon under paperwork, but they forgot heck knew how to read it. The defense argument collapsed in minutes. The judge ruled in our favor on every count: damages, restitution, legal costs, and a written statement clearing me of any HO affiliation. The final line of the judgment read, "An HOA is not a government and may not use her property rights through deception or pressure." The actions of Summit View were reckless, entitled, and unlawful. When a verdict hit local news, people cheered. Homeowners held a meeting and voted unanimously to dissolve the HOA. Melissa's face was everywhere. Mugshot, memes, news articles. She became the cautionary tale of the year. And me. I got a call from the county surplus office 2 weeks later. "The Summit View HOA building is going up for auction," the clerk said. I smiled. At the auction, no one bid. Not the former members, not the developers, not even a bank. I raised my hand. $10,000. The clerk hit the gavel. Sold. A month later, the polished HOA sign came down and a new one went up. "Here they Trieto steal my land." Now it's part of Myland. I turned that office into something useful. A community learning center. Real community. Free workshops for landowners on property rights, zoning laws, and had to stand up to each overreach. We called it the landowner's room. Ranger had his own pen out back, and kids loved feeding him apples. Grace and her mom visited one weekend. She was healing well. They brought a thank you card with a hand-drawn picture of Melissa behind bars. I framed it right by the door. Now the ranch is quiet again. The grass has grown back. No more tire ruts.